You did not click on this message by accident, and deep inside your heart, you already feel that something about this moment is different. For a long time, you have been carrying emotions you could not fully explain to anyone around you. You smiled in front of people while silently fighting battles nobody knew existed. There were nights when you stayed awake, thinking about your future, wondering if your prayers were reaching heaven at all. You kept asking God for a sign, for one clear moment that would remind you that you are not forgotten, abandoned, or invisible. And today, God wants you to hear this clearly. The sign has finally come to you. This message appeared in your life for a reason, because God knows exactly where you are emotionally, mentally, and spiritually right now. He knows about the stress you have been hiding, the disappointment you tried to move on from, the fear that sometimes keeps you awake at night, and the silent tears you wiped away when nobody was looking. God says He has seen every moment of your pain, every second of your confusion, and every time you almost gave up but still found the strength to keep going. Even when you felt weak, heaven was watching you fight battles that others could never understand. There were moments when you thought life would never change, when you questioned why certain doors kept closing, why certain people walked away, and why things seemed delayed for so long. But God says the delay was never a denial. What you thought was rejection was often divine protection. Sometimes God has to remove certain people, opportunities, and situations because they cannot go with you into the future He prepared for you. It hurt because you did not understand it at the time. But one day, you will look back and realize that God was saving you from pain you could not yet see. Right now, you may feel emotionally exhausted from carrying too much for too long. You have been trying to stay strong but God says you do not have to carry every burden alone anymore. He wants you to stop believing the lie that your story is over. The enemy has been trying to fill your mind with fear, doubt, anxiety, and hopeless thoughts, because there is something powerful about your future. There is a purpose on your life that darkness has been trying to stop. The attacks became stronger because your breakthrough became closer. God says the pressure you have been under is not proof that He abandoned you. It is proof that something significant is about to shift in your life. You are closer to your breakthrough than you realize. Even now, while you are listening to these words, God is arranging things behind the scenes in ways you cannot yet see. People are about to notice a change in you. The same person who felt broken, overlooked, and tired is about to step into a new season filled with clarity, peace, and unexpected blessings. God says opportunities are coming that you never imagined possible. Doors are about to open that nobody can shut. The confusion that once surrounded your life will slowly begin to disappear, and things will finally start making sense again. But before that happens, God wants you to trust Him completely. Trust Him even when you cannot see immediate results. Trust Him when life feels uncertain. Trust Him when your emotions try to convince you that nothing will ever change. Faith does not grow during easy seasons. It grows during moments when you choose to believe even while facing fear. God says you survived every difficult chapter because He was holding you together, even when you felt like falling apart. There were times you thought you had reached your limit, but somehow you kept moving forward. That strength did not come from you alone. Heaven was carrying you through moments that should have destroyed you. And now God says a new chapter is beginning. The season of constant pain, confusion, and emotional exhaustion will not last forever. Better days are coming into your life. You may not see the full picture yet, but movement is already happening in the spiritual world. God is preparing conversations, connections, opportunities, and breakthroughs that will completely shift the direction of your future. One unexpected moment can change everything. One blessing from God can erase years of struggle. One opportunity can restore the hope you thought was gone forever. That is why you cannot give up now. You are too close to the answer you prayed for. The enemy wanted you to quit before your breakthrough arrived. The enemy wanted you to believe that nothing would ever improve. But God says your story is still being written. Some of the greatest blessings arrive after the hardest battles. The pain you experienced will eventually become part of your testimony. One day you will inspire people who are going through the same darkness you once faced. God will use your survival to remind others not to give up. But first, you must stop speaking negatively about your future. Stop believing that your life will always remain the same. Words carry power, and God wants you to begin speaking hope over your situation again. Even if things look impossible right now, heaven is still working. Miracles still happen, healing still happens, restoration still happens. Open your heart to receive what God is about to do in your life. Let go of the fear that keeps telling you to expect disappointment. Let go of the guilt from past mistakes, because God already knows every detail about your life and still chooses to love you completely. Nothing you have done is bigger than God's mercy. He is not asking you to be perfect. He is asking you to trust Him. Trust that He can restore what was broken. Trust that He can heal what hurt you. Trust that He can guide you into a future greater than anything you lost. God says this next season will require courage, because you are about to walk away from old pain and step into something unfamiliar but beautiful. The old chapter is closing. The sleepless nights, the constant fear, the disappointment, and the emotional heaviness will not define your future forever. God is bringing light into places that once felt dark inside you. You may have cried in private, but soon you will smile for reasons you never expected. The breakthrough is coming closer every single day. Do not lose faith now. Keep praying even when it feels quiet. Keep believing even when results seem delayed. Keep moving forward, even when you feel tired, because heaven has not forgotten your name. God says this message reached you because He needed to remind you that you are loved, chosen, protected, and guided even during your hardest moments. The sign you have been waiting for is finally here. Your life is about to change in ways you cannot yet imagine. And one day you will look back at this exact moment and realize that this was the beginning of everything turning around for you. There were nights when you cried quietly, so nobody would hear you. Moments when your heart felt heavy for reasons you could not even explain. And days when you walked around pretending everything was fine, while inside you felt exhausted from carrying so much pain alone. God says He saw every one of those moments. He heard the prayers you whispered through tears, the silent conversations you had with Him when you felt like nobody else understood you, and the deep emotional battles you tried to hide from the world. You may have believed that your pain went unnoticed, but heaven never ignored a single second of your struggle. God says, I heard your secret cry before anyone else ever knew it existed. There were times you asked yourself why life became so difficult, why certain people betrayed you, why opportunities disappeared, and why things you prayed for seemed delayed for so long. You tried to stay strong, but sometimes the pressure felt unbearable. Sometimes you felt emotionally drained from constantly fighting. But God says the weight you carried was never meant to destroy you. The enemy wanted you to believe you were alone, forgotten, and defeated. But God has been standing beside you through every storm. Even during the moments when your faith felt weak, He never stopped watching over you. You survived situations that should have broken you completely because God was protecting you in ways you did not even realize. There were moments when you almost gave up on your dreams, moments when disappointment made you question your future, and moments when fear convinced you that nothing would ever change. But God says your story is not ending in pain. The chapter you are in right now is temporary. Even if it feels endless, the suffering you experienced will not last forever. God is preparing a shift in your life that will surprise you in ways you never expected. Right now, you may only see confusion, delays, and uncertainty, but heaven sees the full picture. God knows where He is leading you, even when you cannot understand the process. Sometimes God allows certain things to fall apart because they were never meant to stay in your life permanently. Some people had to leave because they could not go where God is taking you. Some closed doors were actually protecting you from future heartbreak. At the time, it hurt deeply, but later you will understand why certain things had to happen exactly the way they did. God says you must stop blaming yourself for every painful situation. Not every loss was your fault. Not every ending was punishment. Some endings were necessary so a better beginning. You have spent too much time replaying painful memories in your mind, wondering what you could have done differently, carrying guilt for mistakes that God already forgave long ago. God says it is time to release the weight of the past because your future cannot fully begin while your heart remains trapped in old pain. The enemy keeps reminding you of your failures because he is afraid of who you are becoming. There is purpose inside your life that darkness has been trying to silence. That is why the attacks became stronger. That is why the pressure increased. The closer your breakthrough gets, the harder the enemy fights to make you quit. But God says you are stronger than you think. Every battle you survived built strength inside you. Every painful lesson prepared you for the next season of your life. Every tear taught you how to trust God more deeply. You may not feel strong right now, but heaven sees a warrior who refused to give up despite everything that tried to stop them. God says he is proud of you for surviving the battles nobody else knew about. He is proud of you for continuing to wake up every morning even when life felt heavy. He is proud of you for continuing to hope even after disappointment broke your heart multiple times. Many people would have given up completely, but something inside you kept pushing forward, and that strength came from God. He placed resilience inside your spirit because your journey is not finished yet. Better days are coming. God says a new season is beginning to form around your life. Slowly, things will start changing. The confusion will turn into clarity. The fear will turn into peace. The sadness will turn into joy. The same person who cried secretly will soon smile sincerely again. God is about to restore hope in areas where you thought nothing good could happen anymore. Opportunities are coming. Restoration is coming. But before those blessings fully arrive, God wants you to trust Him completely. Trust Him even during uncertainty. Trust Him when answers seem delayed. Trust Him when emotions try to convince you to stop believing. Faith grows strongest during moments when you continue trusting God despite not seeing immediate results. God says He has already begun working behind the scenes. Conversations are being prepared. Doors are opening. Divine connections are forming. Situations are shifting in ways you cannot yet see. One unexpected moment can change everything. One blessing from God can erase years of struggle. That is why you cannot quit now. You are standing closer to your breakthrough than you realize. The pain you experienced was not meaningless. One day your testimony will encourage people who are currently fighting the same darkness you once faced. God will use your survival to remind others that miracles still happen and that difficult seasons do not last forever. Right now, your responsibility is simply to keep believing. Stop speaking hopelessness over your future. Stop assuming life will always stay the same. God says your future is bigger than your current circumstances. There is still purpose attached to your life. There are still blessings you have not received yet. There are still prayers heaven intends to answer. The enemy wanted your fear to become stronger than your faith. But God says your breakthrough will arrive at the perfect time. Nothing is late in God's plan. Even the waiting season had purpose. It taught you patience, strength, wisdom, and dependence on God. The tears you cried were not wasted. Heaven collected every one of them. God says the secret pain you carried for so long is finally being replaced with healing and peace. You may not fully see it yet, but your life is slowly moving toward a powerful transformation. The season of constant emotional exhaustion is ending. A brighter chapter is coming into your life. Keep praying, keep trusting, keep moving forward because God heard your secret cry and the answer you have been waiting for is already closer than you think. Right now, even though you may not fully understand it, something powerful is beginning to shift in your life. For a long time, it felt like you were stuck in the same painful cycle, repeating the same struggles, carrying the same emotional weight, and waking up every day wondering when things would finally change. You prayed for peace but kept facing pressure. You prayed for direction but kept feeling confused. You prayed for open doors but watched opportunities disappear right in front of you. There were moments when you honestly believed nothing would ever improve. Moments when disappointment became so familiar that you stopped expecting good things to happen anymore. But God says the season you are currently in is not permanent. The frustration, delays, emotional exhaustion, and confusion will not follow you forever. Something bigger is happening behind the scenes, even if you cannot see it clearly yet. God says a major shift is already beginning, and the breakthrough you prayed for is moving closer every single day. The enemy tried to convince you that your life would always stay the same, but heaven is preparing a change that will completely surprise you. You may only see closed doors right now, but God sees new doors that are about to open. You may only see setbacks, but God sees preparation. You may only feel tired, but heaven sees someone who survived battles that should have destroyed them completely. God says you have been under pressure because your next season carries purpose. The closer you get to your breakthrough, the stronger the spiritual resistance becomes. That is why the attacks felt heavier recently. That is why your mind became filled with fear, doubt, anxiety, and hopeless thoughts. The enemy wanted to exhaust you emotionally before your blessing arrived. He wanted you to quit praying, stop believing, and walk away from your purpose, because he knows there is something valuable attached to your future. But God says you did not come this far just to give up now. You survived too much to let fear steal your destiny at the last moment. There were nights you cried yourself to sleep wondering if God still heard you. There were moments when loneliness became overwhelming, and you questioned whether anyone truly cared about what you were going through. Sometimes you felt forgotten, invisible, and emotionally drained from carrying silent pain for so long. But God says heaven was paying attention to every detail of your struggle. Not one tear was ignored. Not one prayer was wasted. Even during the moments when life felt silent, God was still working in your favor. The waiting season was not punishment, it was preparation. God had to strengthen you before releasing certain blessings into your life because the next chapter requires a stronger version of you. Some people had to leave your life because they were connected to your old season, not your future. Some plans had to fail because they would have led you away from Some doors had to close because they were distractions, disguised as opportunities. At the time it felt painful and confusing, but one day you will thank God for protecting you from things you once begged Him to keep. God says you are entering a season where clarity will replace confusion. Soon you will begin understanding why everything happened the way it did. The heartbreak, the delays, the disappointments, and the painful endings all carried lessons that were preparing you for where you are going next. Nothing you experienced was meaningless. Every battle built strength inside you. Every setback taught you wisdom. Every painful moment pushed you closer to God. You may feel weak sometimes, but heaven sees someone far stronger than they realize. Many people would have broken completely under the pressure you faced, yet somehow you kept moving forward. That strength came from God. He carried you through moments when you thought you could not survive another day. And now God says the season of constant struggle is slowly ending. A new chapter is beginning to form around your life. Unexpected blessings are coming, opportunities you never imagined are being prepared. God is already arranging the right people, the right timing, and the right situations to move your life into a completely different direction. One unexpected conversation could change everything. One opportunity could restore years of lost hope. One moment of favor from God can shift your entire future. That is why you must continue trusting Him even when things feel uncertain. Do not allow temporary emotions to convince you that permanent defeat is your destiny. God says your future is greater than your current pain. Stop speaking hopelessness over your life. Stop assuming things will always remain difficult. Your words carry power, and heaven wants you to begin speaking faith again. Even if you cannot see immediate results, movement. God is working behind the scenes in ways you cannot yet understand. There are blessings approaching your life right now that you have not even imagined yet. The enemy wanted fear to become louder than your faith. But God says your breakthrough is closer than it has ever been before. You are standing near the edge of a major transformation. The version of you that cried endlessly, doubted constantly, and felt emotionally broken is slowly fading away. A stronger, wiser, and more peaceful version of you is emerging through the struggle. God says you are about to experience growth that will shock even the people around you. The same people who underestimated you will eventually see God's favor on your life. The same person who once felt lost will soon walk with confidence and clarity again. But before that happens, God wants you to remain patient during this final stage of preparation. Do not rush the process. Do not compare your journey to others. Everyone's timing is different, and God's plan for your life is unique. What is meant for you cannot be stolen by someone else. What God has prepared for your future will arrive at the right moment. Keep praying even when answers feel delayed. Keep believing even when life feels uncertain. Keep moving forward even when you feel tired, because your breakthrough is no longer far away. God says this difficult season will not define the rest of your life. Better days are coming closer. Peace is coming closer. Healing is coming closer. The shift has already begun. And one day soon you will look back at this painful chapter and realize it was the exact moment God started changing everything for your good. This message is not random, and the moment you found these words was not an accident. Out of all the videos, messages, and distractions you could have seen today, somehow you ended up here, listening at the exact moment your heart needed it most. God says there is a reason for that. Heaven wanted your attention because you have been carrying thoughts, fears, and emotions that nobody around you fully understands. Lately, you have been feeling emotionally tired from pretending to be okay while silently fighting battles inside your mind. You have smiled in front of people while secretly feeling overwhelmed, discouraged, and uncertain about your future. There were moments when you wanted to give up completely because the pressure became too heavy, but somehow you kept going even when your strength felt weak. God says the reason you survived those difficult moments is because He never stopped watching over you. Even during the nights when you cried quietly and wondered if your prayers were being heard, heaven was closer to you than you realized. You may have thought you were alone, but God was protecting you through every unseen battle. The enemy has been trying to convince you that you are forgotten, abandoned, and stuck forever in this painful season. But God says those thoughts are lies designed to steal your hope before your breakthrough arrives. There is purpose attached to your life, and that is exactly why the attacks against your mind became stronger. The enemy targets people who carry potential. He wanted your fear to become louder than your faith. He wanted disappointment to make you stop believing. He wanted emotional exhaustion to convince you that nothing would ever change. But God says if your future was truly hopeless, the enemy would not be fighting so hard against your peace. The pressure increased because your blessing became closer. The confusion intensified because your breakthrough is approaching. Right now you may only see delays, closed doors, and uncertainty. But heaven sees movement happening behind the scenes. God is already arranging situations, conversations, opportunities, and connections that will shift your life in ways you cannot yet imagine. One moment from God can change everything. One unexpected blessing can restore years of lost hope. One opportunity can completely redirect your future. That is why you cannot quit now. You are standing closer to your breakthrough than you realize. God says this message reached you because He needed to remind you that your story is not over. You have spent too much time doubting yourself, questioning your worth. Every painful experience slowly damaged your confidence until you began expecting disappointment instead of expecting blessings. But God says stop speaking defeat over your life. Stop assuming things will always remain difficult. Your current situation is temporary, not permanent. The pain you are feeling today will not define the rest of your future. Better days are already being prepared for you. God says there are things happening spiritually that your eyes cannot yet see. Delays are turning into preparation. Closed doors are turning into protection. Confusion is slowly turning into clarity. Even now, while you are listening to this message, God is working behind the scenes of your life. You may not understand the process yet, but one day you will look back and realize that heaven was guiding you the entire time. Some things had to fall apart because they were blocking your growth. Some people had to leave because they could not go where God is taking you next. Some disappointments were actually hidden blessings because they prevented future pain you were not prepared to see. At the time it felt unfair and heartbreaking. But God says one day everything will finally make sense. Right now, heaven wants you to stop focusing so much on what you lost and start trusting what God is building for your future. The enemy keeps pulling your mind backward because he knows your destiny is ahead of you. He wants you emotionally trapped in old pain, old regrets, and old disappointments, so you never fully step into your purpose. But God says your best season has not passed yet. You have not missed your destiny. You are not too late. There is still time for healing, restoration, peace, joy, and breakthrough to enter your life, God says. The struggles you faced were never meaningless. Every battle strengthened you. Every tear taught you something. Every difficult season prepared you for the next level of your journey. You may feel weak sometimes, but heaven sees someone far stronger than they realize. Most people would have completely broken under the pressure you carried, yet somehow you continued moving forward. That strength came from God. He carried you during moments when you thought you could not survive another day. And now God says a shift is beginning. Slowly, your life is moving into a different season. The heaviness you carried for so long will not remain forever. Peace is coming, healing is coming, clarity is coming, restoration is coming. You may not see immediate changes overnight, but movement is already happening. God is removing what no longer belongs in your life, while preparing new blessings to enter. That process can feel uncomfortable, because growth often requires letting go of what felt familiar. But trust that heaven knows exactly what it is doing. God says you do not need to have every answer right now. You simply need to trust Him one day at a time. Keep praying even when life feels quiet. Keep believing even when results seem delayed. Keep moving forward even when you feel emotionally tired because your breakthrough is closer than you think. The enemy wanted this season to destroy your faith, but instead it is becoming the very thing that strengthens you. One day your testimony will inspire people who are currently fighting the same darkness you once faced. God will use your survival to remind others not to give up. But before that happens, you must stop believing the lie that your life has no direction. Heaven has not forgotten your name. God still has plans for your future. There are blessings you have not seen yet, prayers that are still being answered, and opportunities that are still on their way toward you. This message reached you because God needed you to hear one important truth today. You are loved, protected, guided, and chosen even during your hardest moments. Nothing happening in your life is random. Heaven is still writing your story, and the next chapter will reveal why you had to survive everything that tried to break you. Sometimes the hardest thing to accept is that God removes certain people, situations, and opportunities from your life not to hurt you, but to protect your future. Right now, you may still be carrying pain from something that ended unexpectedly. Maybe someone walked away without explanation. Maybe a relationship changed completely. Maybe a friendship you trusted suddenly became distant. Maybe an opportunity you prayed for disappeared, right when you thought everything was finally about to work out. And deep inside, you kept asking God the same painful question: why did this happen to me? But God says what felt like rejection was often protection in disguise. There are things heaven can see that you cannot. There are dangers, heartbreaks, betrayals, and distractions that God blocked because they would have damaged your purpose later in life. Even though losing certain people or situations hurt deeply, God says not everything that leaves your life is a loss. Some things leave because they cannot go where God is taking you next. You have spent too much time mourning things that God intentionally removed for your own good. The enemy wants you to stay emotionally attached to what no longer belongs in your future, because as long as you remain trapped in the past, it becomes harder for you to step into the new season God prepared for you. But heaven says it is time to let go. Let go of the people who constantly drained your peace. Let go of the relationships that left you emotionally exhausted. Let go of the guilt from mistakes God already forgave. Let go of the fear that keeps telling you life will never improve. God says the weight you have been carrying is becoming too heavy for your spirit, and He wants to free you from it before your next chapter begins. Some people only entered your life for a season, not forever. Their assignment was temporary. They were part of a lesson, not part of your destiny. At the time, you could not understand why things fell apart so suddenly, but one day clarity will come, and you will realize God was saving you from future pain you could not yet see. Sometimes people leave because their presence was blocking your growth. Sometimes opportunities disappear because they were leading you away from your true purpose. Sometimes delays happen because God knows you are not ready yet for what you are asking for. Heaven always sees the full picture while you only see one chapter at a time. That is why trust becomes so important during painful seasons. God says you must stop interpreting every closed door as failure. Some closed doors are answers to prayers you do not even remember praying. Some endings are actually beginnings in disguise. The pain you feel right now will not last forever. God is slowly removing everything that no longer aligns with your future. The process feels uncomfortable because growth always requires change, and change often feels painful before it becomes beautiful. You may have noticed lately that certain people have become distant. Certain situations have shifted unexpectedly, and certain things no longer bring the same comfort they once did. God is separating you from environments, habits, and connections that cannot follow you into the next season of your life. The version of you that God is creating now cannot remain attached to old patterns forever. You are evolving spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, even if you do not fully realize it yet. The enemy has been trying to keep you emotionally stuck because he knows your breakthrough is getting closer. He keeps reminding you of what you lost because he does not want you focusing on what God is about to bring into your life. But God says stop staring at closed doors and start preparing for the new ones that are opening. Your future is not behind you. Your greatest season has not already passed. There are blessings ahead of you that will make past disappointments look small in comparison. God says the people meant for your destiny will not constantly bring confusion, chaos, fear, and emotional exhaustion into your life. Real peace comes from connections aligned with God's purpose for you. Some relationships were sent to teach you wisdom, not to stay permanently. Some heartbreaks were necessary because they revealed truths you were ignoring. Some betrayals exposed people who never truly valued your heart. It hurt because you loved deeply and trusted sincerely. But God says your kindness was never weakness. Do not allow painful experiences to turn your heart cold. The right people will eventually recognize your value without needing to be convinced. Right now, God wants you to focus less on who left and more on who He is becoming in your life. He wants you to stop chasing people who repeatedly choose distance over loyalty. He wants you to stop begging for acceptance from people who cannot appreciate your presence. You are valuable even when others fail to recognize it. Your worth does not decrease because someone walked away from you. God says there are people coming into your future who will bring peace instead of confusion, support instead of manipulation, and honesty instead of betrayal. But before those connections arrive, healing must happen first. You cannot fully step into a new season while emotionally living inside old wounds. That is why God has been teaching you how to release what no longer belongs in your spirit. Healing takes time, but every day you are becoming stronger than you were before. One day you will look back and realize the people or situations you begged God to keep were actually blocking your growth. You will understand why certain endings happened unexpectedly. And instead of bitterness, your heart will feel gratitude because God protected you from things that could have destroyed your peace later. Right now it may still hurt, but trust that heaven knows what it is doing. God says this removal season is not punishment, it is preparation. He is clearing space in your life for better things. Better opportunities are coming, better relationships are coming, better peace is coming, better days are coming. The season of emotional heaviness will not last forever. God is teaching you how to release what was comfortable so you can receive what is truly meant for you. Keep trusting Him even when the process feels confusing. Keep believing even when life feels uncertain. The same God who removed certain things from your life is also preparing something greater ahead of you. One day soon you will understand why everything had to happen exactly the way it did, and you will realize that what felt like rejection was actually one of the greatest forms of protection heaven ever gave you. You have been fighting battles silently for so long that sometimes even you forget how much pressure you have actually survived. There were days when your heart felt heavy from stress, disappointment, fear, and uncertainty. But you still forced yourself to keep moving forward because you had no other choice. People around you may have seen your smile, but they never saw the emotional weight you carried behind closed doors. They never saw the nights when you stayed awake overthinking your future, wondering how things would ever improve, wondering if your prayers were truly being heard by God. But heaven says your breakthrough is now closer than ever before. Even though the enemy tried to convince you that nothing would change, God says a shift is already happening behind the scenes of your life. The pain you have been experiencing is not proof that God abandoned you. In many ways, the pressure became stronger because you are standing near the edge of a new season. The enemy attacks hardest when he realizes someone is close to receiving what they prayed for. That is why your mind has felt exhausted lately. That is why fear and doubt tried to grow stronger inside you. The enemy wanted you to quit before your breakthrough arrived. He wanted emotional exhaustion to make you stop believing. He wanted disappointment to convince you that your future would never improve. But God says, do not give up now because you are much closer to your blessing than you realize. Right now, while you are listening to these words, heaven is already arranging things in your favor. Conversations are being prepared. Doors are beginning to open. Opportunities are moving toward your life. Even situations that once looked impossible are slowly shifting because God is still in control. You may not see immediate results yet, but movement is happening spiritually. God says this waiting season was not punishment. It was preparation. Before certain blessings could arrive, certain lessons had to be learned. Certain distractions had to be removed. Certain people had to leave because they were connected to your past season, not your future. At the time it felt painful and confusing, but one day you will understand why God allowed certain things to happen exactly the way they did. Sometimes heaven delays blessings because God wants to protect you from receiving something too early. You asked for growth, peace, purpose, and breakthrough, But growth often requires painful seasons before transformation becomes visible. God says the person you are becoming now is stronger, wiser, and more prepared than the version of you that first entered this difficult season. The struggles did not destroy you, they built resilience inside you. Every tear strengthened your spirit. Every disappointment taught you wisdom. Every battle increased your dependence on God. You may feel tired right now, but heaven sees someone who refused to surrender, despite everything that tried to break them. Many people would have quit completely under the pressure you faced. Yet somehow you continued moving forward. That strength, He carried you during moments when you felt too weak to stand on your own. And now God says your breakthrough is closer than it has ever been before. You are entering a season where things will finally begin making sense again. The confusion that surrounded your life will slowly turn into clarity. The heaviness you carried emotionally will slowly be replaced with peace. The doors that remained closed for so long will begin opening at the right time. God says unexpected blessings are coming into your future. There are opportunities ahead of you that you cannot fully imagine yet. One conversation could change your direction completely. One unexpected moment of favor could restore years of lost hope. One blessing from heaven can erase seasons of struggle. That is why you cannot allow temporary emotions to make permanent decisions for your future. Do not quit during the season right before your breakthrough arrives. The enemy keeps attacking your mind because he is afraid of who you are becoming. There is purpose attached to your life that darkness has been trying to stop for a long time. But God says what He placed inside you is greater than every obstacle standing against you. Stop speaking hopelessness over your future. Stop assuming things will always stay difficult. Your current season is temporary. Better days are coming closer every single day. God says healing is coming, restoration is coming, peace is coming. Financial breakthroughs are coming. The same person who once cried secretly will soon smile again for reasons they never expected. But before those blessings fully arrive, God wants you to trust Him completely. Trust Him even when you do not understand the process. Trust Him when life feels delayed. Trust Him when fear tries to control your thoughts. Faith becomes strongest during moments when you continue believing, despite uncertainty. Heaven heard every cry, every whispered request, and every silent moment when you begged for strength to continue. Not one prayer was wasted. Even now, while you feel uncertain about the future, God is already working behind the scenes. Things are shifting in your favor, even when your eyes cannot yet see it clearly. One day soon you will look back at this difficult season and realize it was the exact moment God started changing everything for your good. The pain will not last forever. The struggle will not define the rest of your story. This season of waiting is slowly ending, and your breakthrough is closer than you think. Keep praying, keep trusting, keep moving forward because heaven is preparing something greater than anything you lost. And what God is about to bring into your life will remind you why you survived every difficult battle that tried to break you. Lately, it may feel like everything has been fighting against your peace at the same time. Your mind feels tired, your heart feels heavy, and even simple things have started feeling emotionally exhausting. There were moments when you asked yourself why life suddenly became so difficult, why pressure increased so intensely, and why you have been carrying so many silent battles at once. But God says the enemy wanted you to. The attacks became stronger because your breakthrough became closer. The enemy does not waste energy attacking people with no purpose. He fights hardest against those who are stepping closer to the blessings God prepared for them. That is why fear tried to grow louder in your mind. That is why doubt kept whispering that nothing would ever change. That is why emotional exhaustion tried to convince you to stop praying, stop believing, and stop hoping for better days. The enemy wanted your pain to become permanent by making you quit during the very season before your breakthrough arrived. But God says you survived too much to surrender now. Look at everything you have already made it through. There were moments you thought would completely destroy you emotionally, yet somehow you kept going. There were nights when loneliness felt unbearable, yet you still woke up and continued fighting another day. There were disappointments that broke your heart deeply, but your spirit still survived. That strength did not come from you alone. Heaven carried you during moments when your own strength felt gone. God says even when your faith became weak, He remained faithful to you. Even when you questioned your future, heaven never questioned your purpose. You may not fully understand it yet, but the battles you faced were shaping you into someone stronger than before. Every painful season taught you lessons you could not have learned any other way. The enemy tried to use pain to break you, but God is using that same pain to prepare you for your next season. Nothing you suffered was meaningless. Every tear built strength, every delay built patience, every disappointment built wisdom. And now God says the season of constant struggle is beginning to shift. You are closer to breakthrough than you realize. The enemy sensed movement happening spiritually around your life, and that is why the attacks increased recently. He saw doors beginning to open. He saw healing beginning to happen. He saw growth beginning inside you, and because he could not stop God's plan completely, he tried to attack your mind instead. Fear, anxiety, hopelessness, overthinking, emotional heaviness, and negative thoughts became weapons meant to drain your energy and steal your peace. But God says you must stop believing every negative thought that enters your mind. Not every thought comes from truth. The enemy constantly tries to make temporary situations look permanent. He wants you to believe your current pain is your final destination. But heaven says your story is still being written. Better chapters are ahead of you. God says there are blessings coming into your life that will restore hope inside you again. Unexpected opportunities are being prepared. Divine connections are being arranged. Situations that once looked impossible are slowly shifting behind the scenes. You may not see it yet with your eyes, but spiritually things are already moving in your favor. One moment from God can completely change the direction of your life. One breakthrough can erase years of discouragement. One answered prayer can remind you why you never should have given up. That is why you cannot quit now. You are standing too close to what you prayed for. The enemy wanted to stop you before you reached this moment, because he knows there is something powerful about your future. God says there is purpose attached to your pain. One day your testimony will encourage people who are currently fighting the same darkness you once survived. People will hear your story and realize that difficult seasons do not last forever. But before that happens, you must continue trusting God during this final stage of preparation. Right now, heaven wants you to stop focusing on how impossible things appear and start focusing on how powerful God truly is. Nothing happening in your life is bigger than God's ability to restore, heal, and transform your future. Stop speaking defeat over yourself. Stop saying nothing will ever improve. Stop expecting disappointment before blessings even arrive. Your words carry power, and God wants you to begin speaking faith again. Even if you feel emotionally tired, continue believing that better days are still coming. Continue praying even when heaven feels silent. Continue moving forward, even when fear tries to stop you. Faith grows strongest during moments when you continue trusting, despite uncertainty. God says the waiting season is almost over. The heaviness you carried emotionally will not stay forever. Peace is coming closer. Healing is coming closer. Clarity is coming closer. Restoration is coming closer. You may not receive everything overnight, but movement has already started. The same God who protected you through your hardest battles is still guiding your future now. Some people had to leave because they could not go where God is taking you. Some delays happened because heaven was preparing the right timing. One day, you will understand why everything happened exactly the way it did. Right now, your responsibility is simply to keep trusting God one step at a time. Do not let fear make permanent decisions for your future. Do not let temporary pain convince you. The enemy wanted this season to destroy your faith, but instead it is becoming the season that strengthens you the most. God says you are stronger than you realize, wiser than before, and closer to breakthrough than ever. The pressure will not last forever. The tears will not last forever. The confusion will not last forever. Better days are already approaching your life. Heaven has not forgotten your name. Your prayers are still being heard. Your purpose still exists. Your breakthrough is still coming. And one day soon you will look back at this painful chapter and realize that the moment you almost gave up was actually the moment God was preparing to change everything in your favor. God is about to surprise you in a way you never expected. Right now you may feel emotionally exhausted from waiting so long for something in your life to finally change. You prayed, cried, stayed patient, and kept hoping even during moments when disappointment made your faith feel weak. There were days when you questioned whether your breakthrough would ever come at all. Sometimes it felt like everyone else's life was moving forward, while you remained stuck in the same struggles, the same fears, and the same unanswered prayers. But God says, do not mistake delay for denial. Just because something has not happened yet does not mean heaven forgot about you. In fact, while you were worrying about the future, God was already preparing things behind the scenes that your eyes could not yet see. Right now, conversations are being arranged, opportunities are being formed, and doors are beginning to open in ways you never imagined possible. One unexpected moment can change everything in your life. One blessing from God can erase years of discouragement. One opportunity can restore. That is why God says you cannot give up now, because you are closer to your breakthrough than you realize. The enemy has been trying to exhaust your mind because he knows your season is changing. Fear kept telling you to expect disappointment. Anxiety kept convincing you that nothing would improve. Overthinking kept stealing your peace late at night. But God says the enemy only attacks so hard when something valuable is approaching your life. There is purpose connected to your future, and darkness has been trying to stop you from reaching it. But heaven says what God has prepared for you cannot be permanently blocked by fear, delays, or obstacles. The same God who carried you through every painful chapter is still guiding your future now. Look back at everything you already survived. There were moments when you thought your heart would never heal. Moments when loneliness felt unbearable, and moments when you honestly did not know how you would continue moving forward. Yet somehow you survived every difficult season. That strength came from God. Even during moments when your faith became weak, heaven never abandoned you. God says you are still here for a reason. Your story, some of the greatest blessings of your life, are still waiting ahead of you. The enemy wanted you to believe your best days were already behind you, but God says your greatest chapter has not even started yet. The waiting season was preparing you for what comes next. During this difficult process, you became stronger, wiser, more patient, and more dependent on God. The pain shaped you, but it didn't. Every disappointment taught you something important. Every delay built endurance inside your spirit. Every battle prepared you for a future bigger than what you can currently imagine. God says soon you will begin understanding why certain things happened exactly the way they did. Some doors had to close because they were leading you in the wrong direction. Some people had to leave because they could not go where God is taking you next. Some plans failed because heaven had something greater prepared for your future. At the time, it felt painful and confusing, but one day clarity will replace confusion. Right now, heaven wants you to trust the process, even if you cannot fully see the outcome yet. Stop speaking hopelessness over your future. Stop assuming things will always remain difficult. Better days are approaching your life. Peace is coming. Healing is coming. Restoration is coming. Unexpected favor is coming. God says there are blessings on the way that will remind you why you survived every painful season that tried to break you. One phone call could change your direction completely. One opportunity could shift your future forever. One miracle could restore everything. Fear, that is why you must continue believing even when life feels uncertain. Faith grows strongest during moments when you continue trusting God without seeing immediate results. Heaven is already moving on your behalf. You may not see the full picture yet, but movement is happening spiritually every single day. God says your tears were never wasted. Your prayers were never ignored. Your waiting season was never meaningless. Everything has been preparing you for the next chapter that is slowly unfolding in your life. The same person who once cried secretly will soon smile sincerely again. The same person who felt emotionally broken will soon walk in peace and confidence again. God says this next season will surprise you because it will arrive in ways you never expected. Blessings often appear when people are closest to giving up. Miracles often happen after the hardest battles. That is why you must hold on a little longer. Do not allow temporary emotions to make permanent decisions about your future. Keep praying even when heaven feels quiet. Keep trusting, even when the process feels slow. Keep moving forward even when fear tries to stop you, because your breakthrough is no longer far away. God is about to remind you that impossible situations can still change, unexpected blessings can still happen, and your life can still transform completely. One day soon you will look back at this painful season and realize that while you were worrying, doubting, and struggling, heaven was secretly preparing a miracle that would change everything for your good. God says, do not ignore this warning because not everything around you is meant to stay connected to your spirit. Lately, you may have noticed that certain people, habits, and environments leave you feeling emotionally drained instead of peaceful. Every time you try to move forward, something keeps pulling your energy backward into fear, confusion, negativity, and emotional exhaustion. God says, you must become careful about what you allow access to your heart and mind during this season, because your future is too important to be constantly surrounded by distractions that weaken your spirit. The enemy often sends confusion before breakthrough arrives. He wants you distracted, discouraged, and emotionally overwhelmed so you never fully step into the purpose God prepared for you. That is why heaven is warning you now to protect your peace. Not everyone around you truly celebrates your growth. Not every connection is healthy for your future. Some people only enter your life to create doubt, drama, and emotional heaviness. God says stop ignoring the warning signs you already feel deep inside your spirit. If someone constantly brings chaos instead of peace, pay attention. If certain environments leave you feeling spiritually exhausted, pay attention. If old habits keep pulling you away from growth, healing, and purpose, pay attention. God says your spirit has been trying to warn you for a long time. Sometimes the biggest breakthrough requires walking away from what no longer aligns with your future. You cannot continue carrying toxic energy into the next season. God is preparing for you. The enemy wants you emotionally attached to things that are slowly destroying your peace, because as long as you remain trapped in unhealthy cycles, it becomes harder for you to hear God's direction clearly. That is why this season requires wisdom, discipline, and spiritual awareness. God says stop chasing things that constantly damage your heart. Stop begging for attention from people who repeatedly disrespect your value. Stop returning to habits that leave you empty afterward. You deserve peace, clarity, and healthy connections. Heaven is preparing better things for your future, but you must first release what no longer belongs in your life. Some endings are necessary before new blessings can fully arrive. Right now, God wants you to spend less time listening to fear and more time listening to His direction. The world around you may feel noisy and confusing, but God's voice often becomes clear during quiet moments. Slow down, pray more, protect your energy, protect your peace, Protect your purpose. The enemy wants your focus distracted because he knows you are closer to breakthrough than you realize. But God says if you remain spiritually aware during this season, you will avoid many battles that were never meant for you in the first place. One wise decision now can protect your future from unnecessary pain later. Trust what God is revealing to your heart. Some doors need to stay closed. Some people some habits need to end. This warning is not meant to scare you. It is meant to prepare you because heaven wants to guide you into a future filled with peace instead of regret. Your new chapter is beginning now, even if you cannot fully see it yet. For so long you have carried pain, confusion, disappointment, and emotional exhaustion, wondering when life would finally start changing in your favor. There were moments when you almost gave up because the pressure felt too heavy and the waiting felt too long. But God says the season you cried through will not last forever. The nights of fear, overthinking, and silent tears are slowly coming to an end because heaven is preparing to move your life into a different direction. What once felt impossible is beginning to shift behind the scenes. God says you survived every difficult battle for a reason. Nothing you went through was meaningless. Every painful moment built strength inside you. Every delay taught you patience. Every disappointment pushed you closer to the person God created you to become. Even when you felt weak, heaven was carrying you through situations that should have broken you completely. And now God says the version of you that enters this next season will not be the same person who entered the last one. You are stronger now, wiser now, more spiritually aware now. The enemy wanted this season to destroy your faith, but instead it became the season that taught you how to depend on God more deeply than ever before. Right now, you may still feel uncertain about the future, but God says stop focusing so much on what you cannot control. Trust that heaven is already arranging things for your good. Opportunities are coming. Healing is coming. The same person who once felt lost and emotionally exhausted will soon walk with confidence and clarity again. One unexpected blessing can completely change the direction of your life. One answered prayer can restore hope inside your heart again. That is why you cannot quit now. You are standing too close to your breakthrough. God says your future is bigger than your current pain. Stop speaking hopelessness. Stop assuming life will always remain difficult. This chapter of struggle is temporary, not permanent. Better days are already approaching you. The people, opportunities, and blessings meant for your destiny are slowly moving into place at the right time. Heaven has not forgotten your prayers. Even during moments when God felt silent, He was still working behind the scenes in ways you could not yet understand. One day you will look back at this painful season and realize it was the exact moment your transformation began. God says this next chapter will require faith because not everything will make sense immediately. But trust Him anyway. Keep praying even when answers feel delayed. Keep believing even when fear tries to return. Keep moving forward, even when the process feels slow because your breakthrough is no longer far away. The pain will not define the rest of your story. The disappointment will not last forever. A new season is beginning, and the same God who protected you through every difficult chapter will continue guiding you into a future filled with purpose, healing, peace, and unexpected blessings. Your story is not ending in struggle. Your new chapter starts now.